Welcome to Northwestern Oklahoma State University Annual Hall of Fame Banquet. I can't tell you how excited I am to be part of this. My name's Andy Carter, and I'm the Director of Athletics. This is among the very best days that we get to spend here in honoring these incredible people for their service at Northwestern. I do need to recognize a few people before we move on with the luncheon. I want to recognize the Hall of Fame committee. These people put in countless hours and are tasked with the job of coming up with the inductees, the food, and all of the things that happen today. They work very hard on behalf of the university. And so if you would just stand when I recognize and call your name, I would appreciate that. Milburn Barton. You can save your applause to the end, please. John Allen. Dean Linder. Devin Lukel. Ryan Kaiser. Jay Lee. And Steve Valencia. Will you join me in thanking these folks for their service? I also want to extend a bit of gratitude to two groups of people who are very supportive and active in their support, or this event just would not be possible. First of all, to our senior staff led by President Dr. Janet Cunningham, and our foundation and alumni staff and their governing boards. This event just would not go off like it does without a whole bunch of people thinking that it's important and making a commitment to seeing it happen. So if you could give those folks a round of applause. And then, not lastly, but very important, are the sponsors of the event. Obviously, it takes resources to put on an event like this, and I want to recognize a couple of people, if they would stand when I call their name. Jerry Garrison and his wife Connie from Alva State Bank. Representing Bank Central is Dwight Pfeiffer and Kyle Murrow. And representing Community National is Ron Davison and his wife Myra. This event is literally impossible without their support, so we thank them for that. Okay, so what I get to do now is we're going to ask the blessing on the food, and then when I finish, we will begin the lunch part of this, and we're going to start with the head table, and then we're just going to come back one row at a time until we get everybody in line and everybody fed, and then as we move on past that, we'll start the actual ceremony. We hope you enjoy the time to sit and visit with those at your table. This is really a true celebration. So if you'll just bow with me for a second, and we'll bless the food. Father, we're grateful for this day, for this beautiful weather you've given us to honor these folks that have gone before us and set a standard for that we all aspire. We ask that you would bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to your service. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. So head table first, and then we'll just start releasing you kind of rows as we go back. Thank you.
congratulations to this year's inductees, Monica Schmidt, Steve Lohmann, Joe Phillips and Victor Williams. And this is pretty special to me because sometimes we've had candidates from a little older than me, not many, but these four individuals I feel like I know, some extremely well and some pretty well, from the classroom, from just colleagues, from Steve Lohmann being in kindergarten when I was in first grade at Longfellow Elementary, so long time for that one. Each inductee has added to the rich tradition of athletics at Northwestern and has represented the university with honor and integrity. Athletics at Northwestern, as all of you know, plays a very important role in the life of the university. It unites our students, alumni, and friends, really in a way that is unmatched by any other program. And our more than 400 student athletes bring a richness of diversity to our campus and community. It's a program that can take a hometown advocate, a baseball player from Arkansas City, a young lady from rural Kansas, and a young man from California, and turn them all into Rangers. As we celebrate our past today, we look forward to a promising future. What's exciting to me is we are competing in our first full year as members of NCAA Division II and the Great American Conference. The transition process was challenging, as we knew it would be, but our student athletes are benefiting from a richer experience of being in NCAA Division II. From a competition standpoint, the Great American Conference presents to us a tremendous opportunity to not only compete, but to excel. And our expectations to win are not diminished. And it's really kind of fun to be back with our rivals of Southeastern and East Central and, oh yes, Southwestern. We have made some tremendous strides in improving our facilities and enhancing the experience of our fans. We've been able to do this because of the generous support of our community and fans. Our rivals continue to be amazed about our accomplishments, and they remain envious of our support. So I offer my appreciation to all of you that you have played a part in our success. As president, I certainly enjoy watching our teams win and sharing the experience with our young men and women. However, I really take greater pride in watching those same men and women claim victory not in sneakers or cleats or even boots, but in a cap and gown with a diploma in their hand. Ultimately, that is the true measure of our success, and that is the expectation of our coaches and athletic administration and everyone at Northwestern Oklahoma State University. Today is a time to celebrate the accomplishments of our four inductees. I congratulate each one and welcome them into one of our most exclusive clubs, the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame.
Dr. Cunningham, you were much too nice. We just say that school south of here, and we leave it at that. At this time, I'd like to have John Allen, the director of our Alumni Affairs Office, come for a presentation.
The Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame Scholarship was established in 1999 by Dr. Randy Smith and his wife Mitzi. Dr. Smith received his bachelor's degree from Northwestern in 1975 and was a member of the Ranger baseball team. He later became Northwestern's baseball coach and athletic director. Dr. Smith was instrumental in the establishment of the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame, inducting the first class in 1993. This scholarship honors a Northwestern student athlete who exhibits the highest levels of character, integrity, and athletic and academic performance. It continues the spirit of those people who built a tradition of excellence for Ranger athletics. This year's recipient is Miss Alexis Hayes. Wearing number 11, Alex is both outfielder and catcher on the Northwestern softball team, where she has been a solid contributor since her freshman year. As a freshman, she participated in 33 games, recording 13 runs for her team. And then in 2015, she appeared in 30 games for 14 runs. Coach Charlie Zielman says of Alex, "This young lady is the epitome of a Ranger athlete. Alex excels in the classroom, is a leader on the softball team, serves on the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, volunteers in her free time, and is a true role model to our players. Alex is loyal to the red and black." Alex is majoring in pre-vet here at Northwestern. And today, Alex is joining her teammates in their second game of the season, currently playing Texas A&M International University's Dust Devils in San Angelo, Texas. But fortunately, we have captured her Ranger spirit and her gratitude in the following video.
Okay, now I will ask Matt Adair to come forward with some introductions of some former Hall of Fame inductees who are present.
Thank you, Coach Carter. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, be a part of our little ceremony. I'd like to start by asking all of you, if you enjoyed the meal that you had today, can we get one more round of applause for our very gracious sponsors? Yeah, that's fantastic. And these type of events and this type of support, being able to build this type of a community, it doesn't happen without guys like Jerry Garrison and them with Alva State Bank, Dwight Pfeiffer and Kyle Murrow of Bank Central, and Ron Davidson and his crew from Community Bank. We appreciate all of the things that you guys do for Northwestern and the community and for this Hall of Fame luncheon. I also happened to talk to their bosses just a bit, kind of curious about who would show up to represent the banks today. It's such an important deal. They told me who was coming. Everybody got high marks, and one of the most impressive among them is probably the youngest, Mr. Kyle Murrow out there, who's building quite a career for himself. And Kyle's boss, Mr. Hubanks, the president, told me that he's very rarely seen talent like Kyle. He said, man, the mornings that he's sober, he can keep up with everybody. So, Kyle, thank you. Stand-up comedy aside, it's my great honor to get to introduce some people that I consider to be legends. And I mean, in every sense of the word, more than just what they have ever been on the field, on the diamond, on the court, or anywhere else they may have applied their skill and their talent for athleticism. But these people are legends in the idea that they are Rangers, the embodiment of everything that we hold dear at this school: tradition, pride, heart, and support. And all of them that continue to make the trek back here year in and year out, and as often as their schedules allow them to, we certainly appreciate you being here, and it is our great honor to be able to recognize you today. As I talk just briefly, I promise we'll get out here for at least halftime of the men's game, about each of them, would you stand and allow us to show you the recognition that we all believe that you're due? My first past inductee, keep turning pages here, is Jim Schrader. Jim, are you here? Jim played for Northwestern from 1962 to 1966. Jim ended his basketball career with the Rangers, scoring 1,315 points, which at the time was a school record, and now still keeps him in the top 5 all-time Ranger scorers. Without a doubt, Jim is one of the most talented athletes to have ever donned a Ranger basketball jersey. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the class of 2001, and we're glad that Jim is here today to share in this honor with us. Next, from the class of 2004, an inductee who was a 4-year defensive back for Ranger football. In addition to that, he was a track star who shook up the OIC with a 14.42 second mark in the men's 100-meter high hurdles, an unprecedented time at that time, and a mark that he tells me he could still meet today. Ladies and gentlemen, a first-team all-conference member in 1987, 88, and 89 in football, Steve Cooks.
Yeah.
Another institution inside this institution, a man who's been considered a dean of the profession that he undertook, not by title and not by standing necessarily, but simply by reputation. The winningest coach that Northwestern has ever admitted to their Hall of Fame. Over a 20-year period, this young man managed to win 364 games and give himself a winning percentage for a 20-year run at over 60%. Incredible to keep that up over a 2-decade span. Multiple members of our Hall of Fame have had the honor of calling him coach, and many more continue to call him friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Milburn Barton from the class of 2000. Another person with close ties to the university, somebody who has really been an inspiration at Northwestern in their time here and to this body today, the Hall of Fame in general. A man who has served in multiple administrative roles, coached baseball, and was eventually and very rightfully inducted into this Hall of Fame that he actually helped to found. His teams in baseball earned 160 wins and made 4 consecutive playoff berths during his time as a coach. And again, as the athletic director here at Northwestern, he helped to start and grow this Hall of Fame. And I'm talking about none other than the esteemed Dr. Randy Schmidt. Dr. Schmidt was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2005 and has been at Northwestern quite a bit ever since. Randy, we appreciate all your efforts. Thank you, Dr. Schmidt. Another guy who was an inductee, and I'm trying to see if he's here today, make sure he's on my list. If he's not here, he's come to the game. He was brought into the Hall of Fame in 2006, a phenomenal Ranger basketball player, a good friend of mine, somebody I'm proud to say that I know personally. It's Dustin Miller, and I think that he was actually going to be at the game, but we'll see Dustin a little later. Joining Dustin in that inductee class in 2006 is another legend of Northwestern athletics, somebody whose name we as a university are proud to say adorns a part of our facility. And I'm talking about none other than an unbelievable educator, somebody that many of you have a very personal connection with, Dr. Yvonne Carmichael, inducted into our Hall of Fame in 2006. The next person that I'd like to recognize, one of our past inductees, is an Alva native that played first base, pitcher, and catcher for the Rangers from 1977 to 1981. He was a 4-time All-Conference selection and was twice voted to the All-District 9 squad. A man whose father also was instrumental here at Northwestern, but it's really the accolades of his young son, Mike, that we are here to recognize today. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008 for Northwestern, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Perkins. One of the people whom I brushed over accidentally, I apologize, on my list, an early inductee to our Hall of Fame, all the way back into the class of 1997, is a man who was a 4-time state championship boxer here in Oklahoma, invited to the U.S. Olympic team tryouts individually. He reached the National Golden Gloves Finals boxing competition 4 different times in his career. He fought opponents in Alva, Oklahoma, and all across the nation, including fights in Madison Square Garden in New York City. He's a member of the Oklahoma Boxing Hall of Fame, and since 1997, a member of the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jerry Brownrigg from the class of 1997. One of the next members of the class of our Hall of Fame past inductees is somebody whom I had the privilege of actually being in this position the year that the Hall of Fame chose to bring him in. He's a great guy, a tremendous success off of the football field, almost as much so as he was on the football field. This young man holds a record that literally will never be broken. You see, the longest statistical touchdown you can have is 99 yards. He has a 99-yard pass reception that went for a touchdown that still stands in the record books today. A great ranger, a great leader, a great success. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 2011, Warden Jason Bryant. Jason's probably one of the best parts of his job as a warden is he gets to see so many of those guys from that college just south of here that he used to play against. Another inductee in our Hall of Fame from the class of 2014 is a great man, and I was here the year that he was inducted. I was out in the audience and I listened to him speak, and he gave one of the most elegant, passionate speeches that I think I've ever heard somebody give as they were inducted in the Hall of Fame. This man's passion for what Northwestern is and what it provided him the opportunity to do and in what he's become in life was evident just through the sound and the tone of his voice. Now, as an athlete, he was a standout. Northwestern experienced a great run of team success in track and field during the mid-'80s, thanks in part to his effort. He was a four-time Oklahoma Intercollegiate Conference champion in the high jump and was named the OIC Scholar Athlete of the Year for all sports in 1987. He finished his conference runner-up in the team race, falling to Northeastern by just a single point. But, again, a passionate guy. If you ever have the opportunity to hear him talk or invite him to speak, I'd encourage you to do it. From the class of 2014, ladies and gentlemen, Don Raleigh. From the class of 2015, we have another inductee with us here today, somebody who, again, was instrumental. During his time as a Ranger, he was part of some monumental teams under our Northwestern uniform. He was on the first team to win 100 games over the span of 4 years and the first to win 34 in a single season. A pitcher on the baseball team and a Hall of Fame inductee in 2015, ladies and gentlemen, Fred Shamrock. One of the others that I accidentally turned right past her page because I didn't use page marks, would have been good, is Paula Crandall. Paula has been in the Hall of Fame for quite some time. She is an incredible young lady who left an impressive legacy as an athlete here at Northwestern. Paula's a native of Cherokee. She played basketball at Northwestern from 1979 to 1981. She was a leader on a team that picked up 46 wins in just 2 seasons, only 13 losses over a 2-year run. She averaged nearly a double-double in the highlight season, the 1980 and 81 season, averaging 20.9 points a game with 9.6 rebounds. That team was ranked #1 overall in the NAIA nationally, so a lot of recognition. The second half of the only father-daughter pair in the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Paula Stout Crandall from the class of 1999. Paula's father is Lloyd Stout. Lloyd is typically here every year. I understand that. Well, actually, maybe I see him. Is he here? Okay, I was told that he was going to be sick, so I skipped him on purpose. Well, okay, let's talk real quickly about somebody who's from the inaugural class of inductees in 1993. a standout three-sport athlete whose career on the field, the court, and the diamond was stopped by just one force, World War II. But when he returned from representing our country and fighting for our freedom, he came and finished out what was a phenomenal and universal athletic career, set precedents that will probably never again be met. As a professional, he went on to coach and was a coach who earned the recognition of multiple championships in the high school coaching level, a member of the 1993 inaugural class, and a great Ranger, a great legacy, and a tremendous Northwestern supporter ever since. Somebody I'm very happy to see at so many games, Mr. Lloyd Stout. Two more, and I promise I'll get out of your way. One of those two is not necessarily an individual, but a collective effort. If we have any of the members of the 1999 football championship team here with us today, if you wouldn't mind standing, the first team to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as a unit. Got a couple over there. I thought I saw BC here earlier. There he is, big guy. The first ever benchmark of an entire team to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. These guys fought for and played for, won a national championship for Northwestern in 1999, brought home the biggest trophy on the biggest stage. It's great to have you guys back. Thank you. And the final past inductee to our Sports Hall of Fame is a man who really needs no introduction. You see, for years and years and years, anybody who was a Ranger or loved the Rangers but wasn't here every time, he was the Rangers. For 28 seasons, he delivered the action over the air of Ranger sports. He's easily one of the most recognizable voices in Northwest Oklahoma. He was instrumental, a key to success in the formation of the Ranger Sports Network, which during his time was carried by 3 different radio stations covering all of Northwest Oklahoma, reaching into Texas, Kansas, and even a little bit into the far reaches of New Mexico. His voice is known everywhere. Northwestern was very, very honored to be able to adorn his name to a structure on our campus, the Dean Linder Press Box, which now sits atop Ranger Field. An honor deserving of this young man, ladies and gentlemen, from the Hall of Fame class of 1998, the golden voice of the Rangers, Dean Linder. And with that, my time has come to an end. Drew, are you here? Hi, Drew. Drew Phillips, Northwestern baseball player, also a member of the Hall of Fame. Drew, I'm sorry, they failed to put you on my list and I didn't see you. A phenomenal young man whose talent was just incredible. The legend of Drew Phillips was one that was on campus when I started here in 1999. I think he just left, but it was absolutely an amazing run. So, Drew, if you're here, stand up, let us say hi to you. And one more young man, guy that I got to eat lunch with, Ron Pinkert is here as well. Ron was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1997, a standout football player, both sides of the ball, fullback and defensive end. He told me some of this as we got a chance to eat together. But one of the unique things about Ron, he holds a record that stands today for shot put. Threw a shot put that to this day nobody in a Northwestern uniform has ever been able to beat. Stood for years and years and years and years, and I'm told even when we eventually restart track, it will stand for years and years and years. Reputation as big off the field as Ron was on the field. Great guy, good conversationalist. He's friends with Jerry Garrison, but you know, we can't always pick who you played with, right? But Ron, also a member of our Hall of Fame. Thank you for being here, Ron. Ron, Drew, I apologize. That's my error, but thank you again for coming out and being here. It's my privilege now to turn this banquet over to Dean Linder to bring in the newest members to our Northwestern Hall of Fame. A couple of them, Monica, Victor, I'm very excited for. Coach Phillips, Dr. Lohmann, I certainly hope I get a chance to meet you guys at some point. It'd be nice to get to know you. Ladies and gentlemen, Dean Linder.
You know, 40 or 50 years ago, I did everything by memory. Well, I have no memory now, so I brought some cheat sheets with me. What a thrill to be here, what a thrill to see the wonderful people that have supported Northwestern in the past and continue to do so now and will in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you come from several miles away. You might not have been here before and seen the campus before some changes were made. I am absolutely thrilled to death. I was overwhelmed to find my name on the new press box on the artificial covered turf of Northwestern's football field. What a marvelous facility it is. Let me share something else with you. This won't be as visible to the naked eye. There has been some announcement of it in the past, and there are going to be other announcements in the future. Northwestern is going to commence one of the most important health service training that has ever taken place in the state of Oklahoma. There will be degrees available that amount to a doctor's degree in nursing. A doctor's degree in nursing. That's a nurse practitioner. And this university is going to be the home for the school that produces those people. What a wonderful, wonderful thing. We have 4 inductees today. You've heard the names, and let me share just a little bit more information with you, if I may. I don't know how she got to be number 1 on the list, but Monica Mayer Schmidt is our first inductee, and let me tell you something about her. She was from the metropolis, well, maybe not a metropolis, population of about 500. It was about the size of Winoka, which was my hometown. She was 14 miles from the Nebraska line. She was about 55 miles north of Salina, Kansas. On her personal data, she listed that she had graduated from North Central High School. And I immediately thought, my land, we have somebody from the suburbs of Kansas City. Certainly at least Wichita. She's from Haddam, Kansas. There were 2 towns 3-4 miles apart, and they had different names, but the same people in both places part of the time. She came to Northwestern as a dual athlete. She had been a great long jumper in track. She also was an outstanding dash performer in track. Still has records, some of the schools that she attended. She was a state champion in a track event when she was a 7th grader in Kansas. She came here to play volleyball, even though Milburn lives about 100 feet from me at the south edge of town, so I can call him Milburn. Milburn Barton recruited her to play basketball. It didn't work out. She was too busy doing other things. She was a long jumper, jumped 19 feet. She was a volleyball player, and she was first team District 9. That's every small school in the state of Oklahoma. First team as a freshman with the volleyball team. How she found time to study, I do not know. She was busy in everything, including being the pianist at Sacred Heart Church for 23 years, serving as the county assessor, one of the toughest political jobs there is in a small county where everybody knows everybody else and they know more about your business than you do most of the time. She served a quarter of a century. A quarter of a century. as the county assessor in and for Woods County. In addition to that, she was the statewide president of all of those officers in the 77 counties. She had many trying times, I'm sure. I'm not going to apologize to you. I want to brag a little bit. There was a facility called Panhandle Eastern that ran through Woods County. All millions, maybe even trillions of cubic feet of natural gas through this county. It was by pipeline, of course. They didn't report the gas that was in their pipeline on the day that the assessments were to be made. Monica decided that was not fair to everybody else. If they owned the product, and if it was here, and if it was assessment day, they should pay tax on it. The question arose that Panhandle Eastern would file suit against Woods County and against our assessor. And the case was presented to a local judge. He wasn't very tall and very smart, very big, but he ruled in favor of the county assessor. There was no excuse to say, wait a minute, this is interstate commerce. How can it be interstate commerce if that gas is stored in a pipe, sometimes for months, and moved just in time to avoid the assessment of taxes? Panhandle Eastern appealed my decision, and our county assessor enlisted a dozen other counties to join her in the fight because she knew the appeal was going to be long and hard fought. So there was a band of some dozen counties in the state of Oklahoma that joined in that lawsuit. It was submitted to the Oklahoma Supreme Court, and glory be, the local judge didn't know what he was talking about. It was sustained by the Oklahoma Supreme Court, but Panhandle Eastern was not through yet. They found a way to get to Washington, D.C. and appeal the matter to the United States Supreme Court. With the leadership coming from our county assessor, the counties began to put together information, began to put together proof of just what was being done, that a fraud was being committed upon the citizens of not only Woods County, but every county in the state of Oklahoma through which that panhandle ran. People have many wrong and unjustified ideas, in my opinion, about the U.S. Supreme Court. How they feel they're higher and more important than anybody else on the face of the earth. Well, they agreed with the guy from Alva, Oklahoma, that it was improper for Panhandle Eastern to claim that all of their operation was interstate commerce. They were ordered to pay taxes, and some 10 or 11 or 12 counties in the state of Oklahoma produced millions of dollars of revenue, which was in fact owed, and which was in fact ultimately paid because of the signature of those 9 people in Washington, D.C. I apologize for taking so long to tell you that story. It's not my story, it's Monica's. She was hell-bent for election when things needed to be done. She had many, many successes. She wore many, many hats. While she was here, not only was she a great athlete, she graduated in 3 years from Northwestern with a bachelor's degree. So she was here 6 semesters. 6 semesters she was on either the dean's or the president's honor roll. Every single time. Now that tells you a little bit about what she could do with her time. She was very, very active in coaching Little League track. She was very, very active in almost every civic affair that came her way. She had some great help in many things that she did. Besides picking up a bachelor's degree from Northwestern, she picked up an instructor as well, and they have been married well beyond 20 years now. It is a pleasure to introduce somebody with whom I've worked years and years in the courthouse here in Woods County. Somebody who is known throughout the state of Oklahoma, who is respected throughout the state of Oklahoma, and who is a dear, dear friend. Ladies and gentlemen, the first inductee that we'll have today asked that her maiden name be used in the way her name appeared on the placard. Say hello, if you would, please, to Monica Mayer Schmidt. Great ties to Northwestern. Dr. Lohmann and his wife make these plaques, and I can tell you from personal experience, they will occupy a place of great honor in your house when you get home with Monica. Monica has done all she can do in Woods County. She and Bob said goodbye, and now they live in a miserable place in Colorado where they can see the mountains, the sunrise, the sunset every single day. Monica, that plaque is yours to take and to keep, but we're taking it back momentarily because we're going to give it to you again at center court on the basketball court. But this is in fact yours. And let me tell you, hold it still if you will, please. It is genuine. It matches the one that I have, so know that that is real and it's yours to take with you wherever you go. Congratulations.
Well, that is very kind. I want to thank Northwestern for this honor. This is just so exciting, and I'm so glad to be back in Alva. And when you live here for a long time, sometimes you don't think that, but it's wonderful. And these plaques that I got to see, where's Dr. Bowler? Thank you. They are so beautiful. They do such a good job. And these two are two of the biggest women's sports fans you're ever going to meet. Good friends, love volleyball. What makes this exceptionally special to me is having Judge Linder perform the ceremony. And I'm going to continue to call you Judge even though you're retired. I just don't think anything else is respectful enough. But we worked together 29 years at the courthouse, so you're going to always be remembered as Judge and a special friend to me. I want to recognize and thank my family that's in attendance right now. First of all, my husband, Bob. We've been married 30 years, Judge Linder. And he's been there for me all the time. Many of you know him because you probably had help from his assistants throughout his long career with computers, including Dr. Cunningham. I don't know if you remember calling and interrupting a vacation that you forgot at one time with the time zones at 5 a.m. in the morning. He loved it. Okay, I want to introduce my mom, Audrey Mayer from Haddam, Kansas. I have my sis, Bev, from Phoenix, Arizona. My brother and my one-year-old nephew, Marty and Evan, from Nashville, Tennessee. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Dr. Rex and Marcia Lohmann from Branson. You remember him as the head of the Northwestern Department. Many of you probably had him as a teacher. Yeah, I did too. Rumor had it, we didn't know who was tougher, Dr. Lohmann or Dr. Cunningham at that time. And then I also have my friend, and she was one of our setters on the volleyball team, Bobby, and her husband, Randy Barker. I want to explain, several people have asked, so I thought I'd just say, our son Jason and his fiancee Katie were unable to attend today. He's currently at Rochester, Minnesota in Mayo Clinic going through a pain physical management program. So we're going to fly up there after the weekend's done, but I thought I'd tell everybody why he's not here. I want to thank my parents because they did so much effort as we were growing up and with us kids being involved in so many things in school. But just a couple examples I can think of. They took us all over the Midwest traveling to track meets throughout the summer on the weekends. We even mowed a 220-yard strip in the pasture because at 8 years old I was too young to practice running on the road. They built me a long jump pit. They built my sister a high jump pit at home because we lived so far from town we could practice at home. And my dad even shut down the combine during harvest one time because they were going to take me out of state to a track meet. So even though my dad passed away 3 years ago, I'm sure he's smiling and this is a happy time for him too. I also, like many of you here, must credit Phil Prigmore. He got me to Northwestern. Of course, he passed away a couple years ago, but I'm sure he would be so proud, as only Phil can be, if you know him. So Bonnie and Phil were like grandparents to me, and were very instrumental in getting me to Northwestern. He even made me promise that before I signed with Northwestern, I had to come down here and visit campus. And after I did, I met the people, and I saw what was going on. I love this place, especially Coach Barton. Can't see where you're sitting, Coach, about there. Especially Coach Barton and the late Dr. Jack Carmichael. Now, speaking of Coach Barton, yes, thank you for recruiting me and getting me here. This is wonderful. It turned out great. You remember you and Robin Taylor, Connie Ponches, the Prigmores all came up to my signing, and Phil was so excited, he literally took the shirt off his back and gave it to me right there on the spot because he wanted to make sure we had a Northwestern t-shirt right there at the time. And he repeated that story over and over through the years. Also, as was said, Coach Barton initially recruited me to play basketball too. I lasted a couple days practicing volleyball and basketball and finally had to make my choice back to volleyball. But who would ever dream Jordana and you would be our friends all these years later? So that ended up wonderful. I want to recognize a few of my coaches I had in college. I was fortunate enough that in their early summer, before I came to Northwestern, my high school volleyball and track coach, Tommy Tucker, got the job as the head volleyball coach here. After he left, H.A. Johnson agreed to be our coach that year. And then the next year, the program was dropped. My coach for track was Coach Moot, the late Coach Moot. If you all remember him, he was quite a hoot. We had a lot of fun, and they were very good with us. I want to thank my teammates. And I see several here, Melody and Bobby, and I think there was somebody else walked in. Anyway, we all played as a team, and they worked so hard, and it made it good. We got to be good friends. And it's only because of them and their encouragement and enthusiasm that I'm even able to receive this honor and be up here. I really did want to recognize my friend Bobby Parker, Klein Parker. She was our setter also, but we were friends from childhood, and she'd already gone off to college. She was a year older than me, and I convinced her to come down here and transfer to Northwestern so we could play ball together. So thank you for those sets, Bobby. In the summer of my college also, after Alva's coach Bill Writing retired, I volunteered to be the Alva Kiwanis track club coach. We had 120 kids. It was a great experience. I loved the kids, but it also helped me decide I didn't want to go into coaching. Period. I love Northwestern, and despite all our best efforts to save the programs, the volleyball and the track program were both dropped before I graduated. At that time, I had a huge decision to make. Do I transfer out, or do I end my athletic career? I had already knew Alva and Northwestern were a perfect fit for me. I was happy here. I liked my teachers. I liked the classes. I had a lot of friends involved in campus. I finally made the decision to choose to stay at Northwestern, finish my degree, and hang up my shoes. Well, kind of. I continued to play volleyball anywhere and everywhere I could until about 5 years ago. But still, we had to make that decision. Looking back, I feel it did build a lot of relationships that lasted and helped me later as I served as your Woods County assessor. There were wonderful memories. And then we continued to choose to live here for 34 years. This has always been home. Bob and I, this place has been great to both of us. We met here. We made our home here. He made his career at Northwestern. We have our best memories here. Yes, we moved to Colorado Springs last summer, and yes, we love it there. But Alva, Northwestern, Woods County is always going to be considered home to us. So thank you again for this honor and for so many of you being a part of shaping our lives.
Victor, I probably talked way too long when I was introducing the lady who just spoke, but I'm going to tell you, we're not going to spend as much time with you because we have a women's basketball game that some of the people here have to go to. It's kind of hard to skip over a guy that had the career that Victor did. So many times when a youngster arrives here from out of the country, California in this instance, you have to teach them lots and lots of things about the sport that they're going to play. Nothing could be farther from the truth than it was with Victor. He was a proven commodity when he showed up here. He could throw the ball. He could handle the ball. He could call the plays. He could finesse the defense. He could do everything that a good quarterback was supposed to do. In one ball game, he threw the ball, I believe it was 53 times. He completed 39 passes. And that day, Northwestern gained over 425 yards through the air. Could he play? You're darn tootin' he could. He was selected as Player of the Year offensively in the toughest small college conference in the nation. Oh, and in addition, he too was a President's Honor Roll recipient while he was doing all of these things. They added a little bit, he and his wife, to our population, I believe, while they were here. They delivered twins at the local hospital while they were here, and everything is going well with them, and they have a third child as well. Victor, it is such a pleasure to see you. He has been in Fullerton, California for an extended period of time. He coached there, he taught there, and now he's in private business, and he is proving that indeed he was a proper recipient of the President's Honor Roll. He has his own company, he's doing very well there, and he also has enough common sense to stay with this lady. Victor, congratulations on your inclusion in Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame.
Wow. Once again, Northwestern, you guys under-promised and over-delivered. I'm so intimidated. I had no idea it was going to be this special, this big, and all you studs in the room that showed up here. I thought playing against Southwestern was tough. So I was taking a nap. Forgive me, I'm going to have to read word for word because every time I look up I get scared again. I literally wrote out every word I was going to say, so I'm going to read. Is that okay with you guys? I was taking a nap one Saturday afternoon about 20 years ago, and my mind began to drift, and I was just wondering, what did I do from age 23 to 27? And I couldn't remember a thing. And somehow my mind drifted to Northwestern, Oklahoma State, and my experience here. And reality just struck. I was like, man, all the people, the friends, the teammates, our house on Barnes Street, the games, Town Square, it's over. Oh my gosh, it's gone forever. It's dead. And I thought, never again. Northwestern Oklahoma State, Coach Brower, family and friends, you're looking at one happy dude. It's so good to be here again. Before I continue, I'd like to honor some football friends of mine who are no longer with us. High school friend Tim Walholz passed away of a heart attack. Kenny Atkinson and Doug Rundle, defensive players here at Northwestern, and Roy Platt, a running back, stud running back. But thinking about the speech, I wanted to put something together, a message together that made as much sense as possible and give the right people proper credit for playing such key roles in all of this. You guys gave me and Pam such an amazing experience, and we appreciate you guys so much. So today, I want to give you something back, because honestly, I can't take all the credit. It's funny, I played here for 2 seasons, being recruited out of Fullerton Junior College in 1988, but trying to figure out how to say something about the 21 games as a Ranger, and approximately 750 days lived here in Alva, and countless hours of practice and homework, game film preparation, cramming all of that into this 2-hour speech was hard. So, reflecting for days and weeks leading up to this, I have to share what really meant the most to me when thinking about our football program here at Northwestern. It's one sentence, but it really hit home and just kept coming back to the surface as I put this together. About our success as Rangers being led by Coach Brower. It's a sentence in a book called The Purpose-Driven Life, written by Rick Warren, and I love it. It's the very first sentence of his book, and it says, "It's not about you." I like to think that this phrase mirrors my philosophy as a player, a teammate, and a person. That attitude was instilled in us, in my humble opinion. It was the essence of our '89 championship team, all the records that were set, and really, it's at the core of who I want to be. What a beautiful thing it is to see how God's hand has been on all of this. I read a book called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews, and he eventually put out a DVD talking about how all these dots connect in your life and how that leads to this and this leads to that. And I remember watching the DVD and I thought, come on, it just sounds too good, too scripted, if you will. But preparing this speech blew my mind, to say the least, at how God's hand is really on our lives. So here we go, connecting the dots and how God has graced my life. Let's start with my mom and dad. Without them, I'm not born. Now, all of us can say the same thing, right? We've all been born. But my dad's from El Paso, Texas. My mom's from Mexico. Now, I don't have time to go into all the details, but somehow she ends up in Central California to meet my dad. And here I am, right? What my parents went through, raising 10 kids, 22 miles southeast of Los Angeles, and all the influence that that area, Hollywood and LA, has in a community like Fullerton, California. It's remarkable that we're even here. I remember Pam and I sat in our home on Barnes Street one day. We went, wow, did we just get through such a crazy area in Southern California to be here? But somehow my dad, through all the pain and challenges of his young life, loved and worshiped the Lord. In his very unique way, he provided for us all. And then there's my mom. One word comes to mind when I think about my mom, and that's saint. Thank you, Mom. Don't cry, because I don't cry. But she's tough. Talk about a worker. Nobody could outwork my mom. And thank you, Dad. Then there's Pam. Thank you, Dad. There's so much that I could say about my wife, the mother of my 3 kids, but to summarize Pam, I have to say this. She's the best example of Christ that I've witnessed. I've seen Pam transform from a young, innocent girl into a mentally tough, God-fearing woman of forgiveness, perseverance. The love and respect that she has for me is so good. Words will never be able to express what Pam means to me. Without Pam, honestly, guys, I would have walked on at Cal State Fullerton and stayed home. My in-laws, Tony and Hattie Freeman, two of the most gracious people I've ever known. My mother-in-law, Hattie, didn't like football. She loved football. Another dot, right? Another connecting dot. Tony wasn't just our number one fan. He was super positive, optimistic, and just a joy to be with. This beautiful couple came through for me and Pam and our babies in tremendous ways. We could never repay them for what they did for us. Yet our circumstances, being married at 19 and having a little boy, it could have gone so different. I'll never forget Hattie one day telling me, she said, "Victor, we have one favor to ask. Get your college degree." So another dot. I had a scholarship to earn and a degree to get, and I had that focus because of that one sentence from Hattie. May she rest in peace. So they called that play, that season at Fullerton College, we went 10-0. When you're 5'9.5", not that many coaches at quarterback, not that many coaches come knocking at your door. So thank goodness we went undefeated. And then there's little Vic, our son. If we didn't have him, I don't think I would have taken that 1988 final season at Fullerton College as serious. Because of him, I had to grow up fast. I got serious about school and football. Things that I had to complete, right? Then we had twins. Boy, does God have a sense of humor, huh? I guess I wasn't serious enough and focused enough, so we had twins, right? So I got to give thanks to Aaron and Renee. So I've got all these great people in my life, and I want to just talk real quickly about football, starting with Richard Williams, quarterback. See, before all of this was my brother Richard. At the young age of 7 or 8 or 9 years old, he started playing quarterback. And he was actually known for being a passer at that young age, at the Pop Warner level. Plus my neighborhood friends, right? There was nothing that could keep us from playing street football, right? You get to dark hours, and the only thing that would have, force us in was dinner or having to complete homework. But my brother Richard's dream to play quarterback in the NFL really inspired me to deeply appreciate the quarterback position, even though I didn't play it up until high school. In fact, he's one of the reasons I'm here today. He came up to me my freshman year, and he said, "Vic, you should play quarterback, dude. You can throw better than Beckman." And I couldn't. So I was really borrowing my brother Richard's confidence in that moment. But I did go off a quarterback, and Beckman beat me out. But that's a whole other story. But my brother Richard's influence definitely had an impact. And then David Sepulveda, arguably the best wide receiver to play football at Fullerton High School. We have a stud receiver in the room that just got recognized. Sepulveda caught 26 passes his senior year in one game. It's a national record for 13 years. And I had the privilege of throwing him those passes. He wasn't the biggest guy, the fastest guy, but he was fearless. He caught almost anything that touched his fingertips. His nickname was Sure Hands. And we grew up right around the corner from each other, like brothers. So I looked back, and I was cracking up the Pam the other day. I said, "Man, this is unbelievable. How prepared and how much of an advantage I had." I don't think that was a coincidence. Head coach Martin Lujay, Fullerton High School, thank you. Bottom line, if Martin Lujay doesn't show up to Fullerton High School and turn that program into a championship program, I don't play football, because leading up to that I played baseball. The only reason I decided to go out was because they were winning. And I called him up the other day and I told him that. I said, "Coach, man, honestly, without you showing up to Fullerton, blonde-haired, blue-eyed maniac, right on fire for football, I don't play football." He brought two things into the program, into us kids: discipline and belief. His philosophy was discipline wins championships. And us kids needed that. You usually hear defense wins championships, right, Coach Lohmann? Well, we believe discipline won championships, so guess what we did? We won a championship. And I can't say enough great things about that coach. Fullerton High School is over 100 years old. It was founded in 1893. They won a championship in 1927 when my dad was 2 years old. And they didn't win one for another almost 60 years. And then this guy shows up, and I get to quarterback that championship team in 1984. Another dot. Coach Coleman, quarterback coach. He coached Turk Schoner. I don't know if that name rings a bell. Played at Stanford. I think he played for the Bengals. He was a coach in the Canadian League, a quarterback coach, and I think with the Bills. Steve Berline maybe rings a bell. Well, he coached those kids in high school, and to say that he was fanatical would be putting it lightly. I remember one day we were working on a drop back. I was a junior in high school, and we were 5-step drop to the right, 5-step drop to the back, and I kid you not, I'm not exaggerating, every single drop back, all he would do is say, too slow, faster, quicker. Damn it, Williams, you're too slow. Fast, every single one. So he was fanatical, to say the least. And I remember his mentality was so funny. He said, Williams, you're going to be so afraid of me. I'm going to have you so afraid of me that when we open up against Anaheim High School, you're going to think this is easy. And he was right, because he was crazy. Then I go across the street to Fullerton Junior College, literally across the street from Fullerton High School is Fullerton Junior College. Just the winningest junior college football program in the country. Another dot. And it's funny because that was the first place I ever wanted to quit playing football. But it was also where I learned to play college football. I was coached by some just amazing guys there. Coach Marv Sampson, thank you. He was about the X's and O's. Coach Sampson's schemes were cutting edge, a pro-style offense loaded with details, rules, blitz calls, pre-snap, post-snap reads with adjustments after the snap based on what the defense was doing. When I arrived at Fullerton College, Coach Sampson was in his 27th year. He coached Steve DeBerg and other guys into the pros that went pro. So with him, really was the first place that I learned to read defenses, and he was just creative and innovative and a great, wise coach. And then the head coach, the winningest junior college coach in the country, Hal Scherbeck. May he rest in peace. Thank you, Coach. But just displayed tremendous dedication, a no-nonsense approach to leading a junior college dynasty, where we were expected to win. There was that vibe there. But you knew Coach Scherbeck meant business. He led Fullerton College to 4 undefeated seasons in a row in the mid-'60s and 3 national championships. But believe it or not, the most winningest coach in the country taught me how to lose with class. Leads me to Coach Brower. I'm not going to look at him because I cry. Character, focused, God-fearing leader. Would not compromise his convictions for popularity or short-term support. And at age 20, I needed that in my life. I'm going to come back and talk more about Coach Brower in just a second, who, by the way, in my humble opinion, is overdue for his induction into this great Hall of Fame. After today, Coach Brower is going to have 2 quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame, a defensive back and a defensive coordinator. I've got 2 names written down here, and I'm almost done. Thad and Jay. Thad Dilbick, Jay Schnoblin, and then I wrote down brotherhood. Real quickly, when I arrived in Northwestern, we had 5 quarterbacks, and I thought, oh my goodness, here we go again. I'm the 6th quarterback, and we competed, and I got the starting nod, but not once did Thad Dilbick show it. No woe is me, no complaining, not once. He never sent out that vibe, and that was so huge that I appreciate that to this day. And then Jay just welcomed us with open arms, made us feel at home here in Alva. And Jay was the utility guy, right? He played receiver, and then next week he was playing halfback, and then he was playing free safety, and then DB, kick return, punt return. Did you punt? I mean, that was just what we did back then. I don't know how much talent we had, but you know what? We won conference championship with guys like Jay. Coach Brower. Actually, Coach Lohmann, congratulations. Your energy is infectious. You've modeled enthusiasm like only a few people have in my life. And back to Coach Brower. He was the architect of it all here at Northwestern in the late 80s and early 90s. And for me, Coach Brower possessed about everything that I had from all those other coaches. He had the stoic presence of Coach Scherbeck. No words were necessary at times, just that look. If you're competitive, you know how that feels. And let's see here. He also had the fire of Coach Lujay and the creative adaptability of Coach Sampson. All the while, Coach Brower, he has this unique, quiet intensity. Again, if you're a competitor, you just feel it. So not only did Coach Brower lead us to our '89 conference championship and this recognition that I'm receiving today, but he also led Northwestern to a conference championship in '86, only his second year as head coach. Those 63 passes against Northeastern, he called those plays. Those 51 tosses that we beat Rex Ryan's New Mexico Highlands defense, Coach Brower called those plays. The 425 yards against Adams State, he called those plays. And this is the brilliance that all great coaches possess. Coach Brower saw something in me that I didn't see. And that all this is really, that's on display is his work that's being showcased today. So, and you know what, I miss Coach Gale. I don't know how, because I wrote down in my notes that Coach Gale was absolutely the most ferocious coach I've ever played for. And thank God he coached the offensive line, because they protected me pretty well. But in closing, I wrote down, see, Vic, it's not about you. In the context of Rick Warren's book, the pastor was teaching us about purpose and the realization that all of this is about Jesus. Well, in the context of this induction, I feel that it was not about me, it was about us. Now that's leadership. So thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Mom and Dad, Tony and Hattie. Thank you, Coach Brower and Cindy. Congratulations, Coach Lohmann. Thank you, Coach Gale. Thank you, Jay and Thad. Thank you, Northwestern Oklahoma State. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
There was some mention of baseball, but we haven't spent much time with it. We're going to spend a little time right now. A fellow that coached baseball longer at Northwestern than any other coach in this institution's history. A coach that won more baseball games than anybody else in the history of Northwestern. And Randy, that might be kind of hard for you to swallow because you were a whale of a coach as well. Joe Phillips was from Ark City, Kansas. He played 2 years at Ark City Junior College. They produced a lot of outstanding football players up there. I didn't know the quality of the baseball players that came out of that place. But Joe Phillips was proof that there were, in fact, big-time baseball players at Ark City. Joe was always a pretty good-sized kid. Had great glove work at first base. I don't know if he could outrun a snowball or not, but he could play baseball. He could play baseball. One of the highlights that he mentioned in the bio information that he furnished to us was one of the high points of his baseball career. He was playing in a doubleheader at first base. The second and third time that he was up in the first game, he hit back-to-back home runs. The next game, I'm not certain what inning it was, but he hit back-to-back home runs. 4 dingers in 2 games. But he added parenthetically, I only hit 7 for the year. That's the sort of guy that you can believe, that you can believe in, and that you can play for. Joe Phillips had a great career at Northwestern. He continues to flourish. He and his family are so welcome here every time. Say hello to the winningest baseball coach in the history of this institution, Joe Phillips.
Wow is right. I don't know how I'm going to follow that speech at all. That was very good. But I do write some notes down here. And I'm sure at some point in time I'm going to have to use this handkerchief I've got in here. I'm such an emotional person, believe it or not. I first of all want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for allowing me this day. And Dr. Cunningham, appreciate it. Amazing honor that, me being from Arkansas City, Kansas, didn't ever figure that this was going to happen. And when you talk about athletes, that was not me. As Dean mentioned, you could watch me all day long and I wouldn't run out of sight. I was pretty slow. I mean, it looked like I had concrete. I was pulling a plow. I mean, it was bad. I think maybe the only one that's slower than me is my son Jake. And I apologize for that, Jake. I know that. I tell you, I'm really proud of this day, and I think in my interview you probably heard or you saw that this was always my favorite day at Northwestern. You got to see guys come back in, and I'm not going to go and mention all of them because Matt Adair already did that. But those days that the Hall of Fame day was really, really, really a big honor for me. And I tried to include my players in it, make sure that they knew who was going to be in that year, and just a great time. And I know Coach Schmidt is the one who put this thing together, or maybe was instrumental in putting it together, and what a great idea it was. Some of the guys, though, I do want to mention a few because some of these guys were not mentioned, and they were teachers of mine. And while I look back, and great people, I had a great time with those people, had wonderful stories, but people like Junior Johnson, great guy. Art Parkhurst. Dr. Carmichael, she was my boss in the physical education department. I apologize for all of those things that I didn't do that you asked, but I tried. I really did. Wonderful person that, guys, you couldn't work for a better person. Really great person. Dr. Carmichael, I appreciate it. Coach Barton was and still one of my best friends, and gosh, we can tell stories all day long with Coach Barton, but great guy, and I do appreciate everything. Coach Smith, obviously, he's the guy who brought me here many years ago, actually about 35 years ago. Gosh, to this day, I would consider my best friend. A couple other people that are in the Hall of Fame. One's Lloyd Stout. I get to talk to him at all the ball games, and I really enjoy those times. Another one who's gone now, but Dr. Matthews was a great guy that I got to sit and visit with a lot. He actually kind of, in a roundabout way, introduced my wife to me. Tandy and I met in Dr. Matthews' bowling class, if you can believe that. So anyway, that's just a few there that I wanted to talk a little bit about. I do want to say that it's a great honor that I'm able to go in with the people that I'm going in with. Monica and I went to school together many years ago. I think she came in '81. I was actually a junior. She was just a freshman then, but great volleyball player and great times at Northwestern. Really, not just with athletics, and people have talked about how she did in school, but she was involved in everything. Every club you could think of, Monica Schmidt was there. Victor, I know Coach Breyer started that, Coach Breyer and Coach Lohmann started that dominance in football, but I don't think they could have done it without you. And I know I got to watch several of your games, and wow, that was exciting. That little old 5'9", 5'10" guy that you could throw it. And Dr. Lohmann was actually my student teacher at Lincoln Elementary School. I student taught under him. We could tell you lots of stories, lots of stories about great kids. That I was fortunate enough to be able to be their student teacher at Lincoln, and those guys are gone away from Alva now, but they were some honoring kids. And Dr. Lohmann took care of them. There was more than one time in the happiness room that I got to witness. Great friend, and you know, Dr. Lohmann. There's 4 of us now in the Hall of Fame that played on that Trading Post softball team. That was quite a deal. You know, I don't know how we're going to get your brother in there, but that's one that. And I know if he was up here, he would get to tell you some great stories. I can tell you the very first time that we were together in playing the softball out there, Coach Schmidt's telling him, you know, I've got this great baseball player, all conference guy, big guy's going to hit, you know, this and that. Honest to goodness, we're playing slow pitch softball. My first 2 at-bats, I struck out. I swear, the first time it was a foul ball. The second time I struck out swinging. If you know Dr. Terry Lohmann, I never lived it down. He still reminds me of that. I wanted to actually thump him. It was bad. But anyway, on to some introductions. This will be a tough part for me, but a couple of tables here. My mom and dad are here. Joe and Mary. My sister Cheryl. Kind of sister-in-law, Karen Hickman. My wife, Tanya. That's her adopted sister, I should say. One of my sisters is not here, Sue. I have some aunt and uncles here. Denny here at the front table. And then I have Ken and Becky Harringer. And Beth Ann and Larry. I really appreciate y'all coming. Seriously. I could tell a real quick story about, and my roommates loved it whenever my aunts would bring me cakes. My favorite cake is still to this day a chocolate sheet cake. And Aunt Becky would send me a chocolate sheet cake, and the first one she sent, you know, all the guys in the dorm, all in the hall, you know, was, hey, it was chocolate cake, so it was great. Well, we didn't finish it all that day. You know, they come in a pretty good sized sheet. And later on, I'm cutting a piece, and underneath there was some wax paper that had like $20, $40, $50 stuck inside it. And Becky and Beth Ann, they kind of kept me in money, maybe to go out to a couple of establishments, or you know, another thing that I cherished that money with was going to, and I know Jane and Max are here, but that was quite an establishment they had out there at the Colonial House. We would go out there and have the $5 all-you-can-eat shrimp. That was a great deal. I sold Jane a sign the other day. I collect signs, and I sold her a sign, and I told her I'm going to give you a really good deal on this because I think I owe you some money. So that was a great place, and I do want to thank you for that. My other people I need to introduce. My son Jake, oldest son Jake. These are all of our family who all graduated from Northwestern. I really like that free tuition thing. So, we all graduated from Northwestern. Jake coaches and teaches. He teaches math and coaches fast pitch softball and girls basketball, and he's head coach in slow pitch. They won the state championship a couple years ago in softball. They're ranked number 2 in the state in basketball. And in girls basketball, they beat the number 1 team in 6A the other day, Westmore. They have an unbelievable team. And Coach Barton, I know that you would love to have some of his players that can shoot the lights out of the 3. So Jake's doing a great job at Newcastle. Pete, my son Pete, is here in Alva. He teaches at Lincoln Elementary School, you know, following up with Coach Lohmann, but teaches at Lincoln Elementary School in physical education. And he coaches at the middle school, coaches basketball. He's actually, him and Cody Hooper, coach down there at the basketball at the middle school. He's doing a great job. My daughter Taryn just graduated in December, and she is teaching 3rd grade at Newcastle, living with her brother Jake down there, and she actually is helping with the basketball team as well at Newcastle. They have an unbelievable mentor. His name is Brett Sanders, who's won several state championships in Oklahoma, and I'm really glad that they're able to be under someone like him. And then my wife, I mentioned that we met in bowling class. Gosh, I'm not going to say how many years, but I think it's been like 32 years we've been married, something like that. She does get frustrated with me because I don't remember exactly, but anyway, it's in that neighborhood. There you go. 32 years. You know, and I will say this, being a wife of a coach is not an easy thing. You know, and I won a lot of games, as Judge Linder said, but we lost a few, not a few, but a whole heck of a few. But one thing I didn't do, and I told her, I said, you know, when I come home, I don't want to talk about wins or losses. I don't want to talk about baseball. Let's talk about something else. How are the kids doing? But she put up with it for 20 years, actually about 27 years of Northwestern baseball. And gosh, I'm so proud that I can say that she's my wife. Okay? A few friends. Back over this table over here. William Diedman played baseball here at Northwestern, and I actually work with him. He owns and is the boss for Northwest Landscape, and I spray yards with him today, and great friend, has been for a long, long time. Our bat boy, if you can, well, you can see, he's the larger one over there, but that's Jed Smith, Coach Smith's nephew, and Jed was our bat boy in whenever I was coaching at Northwestern. Gosh, those guys would do terrible things to that kid, but he's grown up and made it through. And then my good friend Dave Dalton, he's a friend of mine from high school, and gosh, I've known him for years and years and years. Actually, his younger brother and I played baseball together, and his younger brother's the one that played for the Phillies, Darren Dalton. And my dad was the coach on that team, and Dave's dad was also the assistant coach. So anyway, that's some introductions I have. I'm going to try to speed through this so it doesn't take all day. I know we've got to get to the basketball game. Let's see. Oh, I can say this. What some people don't really realize about Northwestern is how much of a family it is. And I was so fortunate. You know, I played the 2 years here, and then I was Coach Smith's assistant for 5 years. And gosh, every part of it was family. I mean, Dr. Carmichael had us over numerous times throughout the year, whether it be, you know, get back to school, Christmas, or you know, going away party, whatever it may have been. And we had great times. You know, it was potluck usually, but great food. And you know, it just made you feel, even though I was 100 miles from home and out, or from Arkansas City, it made you feel like, wow, this is home and this is family. And I really do appreciate that. Again, that was Dr. Carmichael was my boss in the physical education department, along with people such as Joe Feely was my boss, Chandler Mead, and Chandler's still over there in the chairman of that department, and I still actually have been teaching in Woodward, so I get to talk with Chandler quite a bit, and a great, great friend he is. Some athletic directors, obviously the guy who hired me, Dr. Smith, can't say enough about him. But when Coach Smith left, then we went to Coach Barton, another great friend, and then we went to Coach Battisti, a great friend, but we just kind of clashed. You know, we really did. Bob has a lot of great ideas. He's an unbelievable coach, great coach, but it seemed like every morning he was in my office telling me what I needed to do. And, you know, and today we're still great friends. Okay. Let's see. Oh, during the introductions, I would like to do this. I kind of skipped by this, but I'd like to do this. We had a little get together with our baseball players last night from all the years that I've been here, and it was an absolute amazing time. I don't know how many people there were here, but a lot. And what I'd like to do is because I don't want to go through and mention names. I mean, I know I'm going to leave people out, but I have several baseball players that played for me that are here. And not only baseball players, but a lot of my guys that were my assistant coaches, and you're talking about assistant coaches that were making about $3,000 a year as an assistant coach. But stand up and be recognized, please. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. I will say I'm going to single one guy out because he hasn't been talked about, and that's Ryan Hindegard. You know, a guy from Ponca City that was bound determined not to come to Northwestern because all of his relation was here at one time or another. but I talked him into coming here. He was an All-American baseball player for us. The only mistake I made with him, I think, in all the years was I didn't redshirt him his freshman year because he was a great player as a senior, and I know he would have even been better the next year. But Ryan also is really instrumental in raising money for Northwestern in the baseball program. He's the one who started our website many years ago for athletics. Great friend. Where's Ryan? Ryan Hindergarten. Appreciate it. Okay, and one thing too with the baseball players, I had baseball players from, all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, which we had, I don't know, probably 20 plus kids from Boston, we had kids from Los Angeles, California, some great players from out there. We also had kids from Toronto, Canada. One of them was drafted in the 15th round. Brett Lawson, a big 6'10" kid from Canada that threw right-handed and was, about 94 mile an hour. That was an absolute stud. But all the way north from Toronto to Juarez, Mexico. And I actually had the opportunity to go to Juarez more than once to recruit some kids. And I can say this, it's not near as bad, it wasn't near as bad then as it is now, but not a place that I want to live. Truly. And I mean, they're good people there, don't get me wrong, I know that. But I was there recruiting people, and they were great baseball players. A couple of them actually came and played for me. So, yes, I agree. Don't get me wrong, yes. And those kids that I had from there were great kids. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But Juarez was, I would tell you the story. It'd take forever, but let me just say this. I was in Juarez. I had to go to the policing department to try and get this kid's papers to go. I sat on the curb outside because they wouldn't let me in. They came out and said, I didn't know what they were saying because it was Spanish, but they said basically, you must go across the road. And I said, no, can I go in here and eat? There was a little cantina. So I went inside and ate, waiting for the guy to come out. Across the road, it wasn't a good deal. So, anyway, some memorable events at Northwestern. Some memorable events for me. And I was a baseball coach, but I was a fan of all sports and went to, lots of events. And I kind of tried to take one event from each sport. And football, even though, Victor, you guys had great years, the most memorable thing for me in football was going to the national championship game. And, we're down, if I remember, I was 26-0 or something like that at halftime. And I'm thinking, this is going to be a long road home. And we come back and won that thing, and that was really, really cool. In women's basketball, and that's something too. Coming from Ark City, we didn't really watch a lot of basketball. Wrestling was our big deal. We won 20 state championships in wrestling, but I love basketball. That's my favorite sport to go watch today still, and I really like to go watch women's basketball. But I remember going to Southwestern, and before I go any farther, I need to say this about Southwestern because a lot of people are, hey, Southwestern this, Southwestern that. There is a great friend of mine that was the head baseball coach at Southwestern for I don't know how many years, but is here today, and it's Larry Gerking. Where's Larry at? Larry Gerking back there, and I apologize for all the Southwestern comments. I'm not going to say I didn't want to beat his team as much as anyone else, but there were a lot of other teams that I know Larry and I both would have rather beat than just ourselves. And Larry also was, Coach Gerking was Coach Smith's coach in high school. Is that correct? He's coaching in high school. So lots of great memories, and Larry, I'm glad you came. I appreciate it. Back to the basketball game, though. It was at Southwestern. We're down 6 with, I think, 26 seconds to go. And Stephanie Bontrader comes down, hits a three-pointer, gets fouled, 4-point play. And later, in that 26 seconds, it wasn't a whole lot later, but later in that, we get the ball back. Sissy Allen comes down and gets a three-pointer, and we win by 1 against a Southwestern team that was phenomenal. One of my favorite memories of women's basketball. Men's basketball, a couple of them. I went to a lot of the basketball games because I really enjoyed that, but this was at Panhandle. Why I went to Panhandle, I don't know. But went to Panhandle, and It was when Coach Batista was coaching. He had a kid named Galen Nickerson on the team. And I don't mean this bad, but for any of you guys that are basketball players that were here, but Galen was the best basketball player I ever saw. Not just at Northwestern, but in my entire life. But I remember Galen in that game. They were playing Oklahoma City University, and they had Hopgood. They had a couple of guys that were 6'10", 7-foot guys that were really, really good. And Galen, this is another one of Coach Batista's great coaching moves. He had Galen stand out. They had 35-second clock. He had Galen stand out and he dribbled until there were about 3 seconds to go, and then Galen just went and dunked it, or made a three-pointer or whatever. But Galen ended up with, I think, 41 or 44 points, something like that, which is still a school record in a game. Great ball game, and we won that game also. Another one, and I don't know, is Slade Young here? I think he'll be at the basketball game. But Slade, another great player, and I remember them playing again. It was OCU. It was in the big house in Oklahoma City, and I don't think we won this game, but I remember Slade headbutting Smokey McCovery, and that guy was a Ranger, I promise you. And another one was Slade, and we weren't here. We were on our way back, actually, from a baseball game, and Slade, we were playing Northeastern in our conference championship game, I believe, and Slade hit a three-pointer kind of going out of bounds over there by the door at the gym and got fouled and made the free throw and win by 1. We were actually on our way back from a baseball game, and we had to pull over. Believe it or not, we weren't that far from Alva because we were getting the KALV radio station. We had to pull over because I thought the van was going to explode. But okay, another sport was soccer, and Coach Barrows. I don't know how many of you were at this game, but it was quite a deal. And we lost this one, but it was against Oklahoma Christian for us to go. If we would have won, we would have went to the national championship tournament, which was in California. And I think, well, I won't say that because Coach Barrows, he didn't necessarily have his badge back, but we thought we were going to win that game. We were probably a better team. We had some opportunities, we just didn't get it done, but it was a kickoff. And at the time, I say a kickoff, it was a penalty kickoff. I had to ask Coach Barrows the other day what you actually called that. But we got beat in that kickoff, but there were a lot of people at that ball game, and it was fun times for Northwestern. Okay, my sport, baseball. A couple of things that I remember. First one, my first year here, I was a junior, and I wasn't a great baseball player. I did, I could hold my own at first base, and I hit pretty decent. Not a lot of home runs. I probably do hold the record for most singles that are hit off the wall. Again, because I wasn't very fast. But I remember we were playing at East Central, and we always went to Hardee's. That was Coach Smith's place. Of course, we didn't have a lot of money anyway, but we went to Hardee's. Hooper can attest to that. I don't think he'll probably eat a Charbroil hamburger to this day. But we were at Hardee's in the parking lot, and Steve Nunez was our big player. He could hit it a ton. He had 63 home runs in his career at this time. We're in the parking lot after we eat, and Nunez was notorious for jacking around, basically. And him and another kid were wrestling, just having fun. He lost his glasses, broke his lens. He had those big old lenses like myself, if you saw some of the pictures. Big old glasses. Broke his lens. The next day, this is the truth, Steve uses another kid's glasses on our team, hits his 64th home run to tie the record, and then the next week hit his 65th home run to break the national record. And people, I don't know how much you know about baseball, but 65 home runs in 4 years is unbelievable. I mean, we don't have anyone usually hit 15 or 16 in a year, and his freshman year he hit 23, which is also still a record here at Northwestern. So, great guy, and he was one, probably, he wasn't 5'9", I don't think, but short, stocky, could throw it a ton, and could also hit the baseball. I think he hit over 400 all 4 years here. So, another guy that, definitely needs to be in our Hall of Fame. My last story, and I'll quit on this, but we're playing Dallas Baptist, and I could tell stories all day long, but we were playing Dallas Baptist. I think I got that actually from Coach Johnson and Coach Parker. So I remember sitting in their class, and it was a great deal. About 10 minutes in, we were finished with class, and now we're going to tell stories. But they were great guys. Okay, we're playing Dallas Baptist at Oklahoma City University. And Dallas Baptist, to kind of put this a little bit in perspective, had won over 50 regional games, and we were in a regional tournament. And they've won tons of games. They're now Division I, and they've been in Super Regional a couple of times since they've been in Division I. Great, great baseball team. But the year before, we played at Dallas Baptist. We had a great team. We went down there and lost a couple games in the tournament. And I went up to their coach, and you know, I was emotional, crying, and he says, you know, Joe, it's a process, and you started that process, so you'll be fine. Well, the next year we played them in the first round of the regionals. And I went through to our players, and I told them, you know, in our little pregame speech about the process, you know, that Sam Riddleman was the coach, and I said, you know, this is what Sam said, and we're going to make it a process today. Well, that game, after the first 6 innings, I took Ryan Herman out, who was and still is as good a pitcher as we've ever had here. He was from Oklahoma State via Chandler. He was the player of the year in Oklahoma a couple of years. But anyway, he comes out and the score's tied. Did a great job. We bring in Bernie Maharis, who was one of our best closers that we've ever had. At that time, that year, we had 2 really good closers, J.J. Lane and Bernie Maharis. Anyway, bring in Bernie, and Bernie throws the next 6. It's in the bottom of the 12th, score's still tied, and we have a couple guys on, and Josh Simpson, who, if you all have read the paper, is he just took a job with the Texas Rangers as a baseball scout. But Josh Simpson was coming up next. We had a couple guys on, and Mike Silva was on deck. Mike Silva, another guy that's a scout now for the Padres. But Silva was on deck, and Simpson tells Silva, hey, I'm not going to say the words he said, but hey, take those gloves off, his batting gloves, because you ain't going to get a hit. Well, Simpson goes up, and the first pitch, he hits a bomb to right center field that goes off the light poles, and we beat Dallas Baptist. I think it was 9-6 or something like that. But I'll never forget that as long as I live. I mean, it's one of my most enjoyable moments. And you know, you're talking about a team that had won 50 regional games, and little old Northwestern never won at all. I remember in the post-game speech, I said, "We can process that, boys." Anyway, that's my last story, and I do appreciate everything that everyone's done. And guys, lots of great memories, and ride Rangers ride.
Well, I'm told, like it or not, we've got one more to induct. It's not like it or not, it's love it or not. One of the greatest producers of good things at Northwestern is our final inductee. You know, what more can you do? He has had almost every executive position with the university educationally. He coached a little bit of football. In 1996, Northwestern was named #1 in the nation several weeks in a row in the poll. First time ever in football that Northwestern had been #1 in the nation. We ended up going to the national playoffs and #3 in the nation at the end of the season. All the time this was going on, he was doing a great job in the classroom as a teacher. In 1996, that might have been the summit year for him. He was named Football Coach of the Year. In American Football Quarterly magazine, he was named as the newcomer of the year. That team had 10 All-American players on it, all on one team. 5 of them were second team, so it's about a 5-5 split. This from a guy who never weighed 160 pounds in his life, I don't suppose, coaching college defensive linemen. They could have swallowed him in one bite. But nobody even thought about it because he was so damn tough. Nobody wanted a piece of Steve Lohmann. He also was the greatest motivational speaker I have ever heard around a team. I'm going to claim just a moment of personal privilege right now. I had never been in the town of Weatherford until the day I enrolled at that school. I spent 4 years at Southwestern. I was president of the freshman class and the senior class. I played football and I played baseball. We were third in the nation my senior year. The first small college World Series was played in Alpine, Texas. I was the losing pitcher in the semifinal game. It was a great ride. There were some great people there, but let me tell you, if you haven't already made a decision about the best place in the state of Oklahoma, perhaps in the nation, to send a kid or a grandkid or somebody that's close to you, then you have missed the flavor of what went on here today. This is the place to call home as a college student. Let me share with you just a couple of things that Steve had put together when requested to give some bio information. Chandler Meade was the national defensive coordinator in the nation the year that Northwestern had such a great success with the all-conference and all-American players. Coach Lohmann was named, as I said, as the newcomer of the year nationally that year. Career highlights, quote, although many moments come to mind, the greatest highlight was the opportunity to coach with young men who went on to be highly successful coaches themselves. 14 of 16 Northwestern linebackers who played during my coaching years went on to become head coaches themselves. In addition, many coaches with whom I coached alongside of or went on to coach with became very successful, not only as assistants, but as head coaches as well. The last thing I want to share with you, and then you'll hear him, the greatest memory or success was called for. And this was the answer. Then the enthusiasm and support generated throughout the entire community and the school during the 1996 season. It was a great team. He was a great coach, and now he's a great administrator. He is executive vice president of this university and a proven leader academically as well as athletically. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Dr. Lohmann. We want the applause.
Hey, good afternoon. This is, you know what? This is just like being in front of a team on Friday night. There's nothing better. And I'll tell you, Joe thinks he's emotional, you know, but I'll tell you, I'm an emotional son of a gun, and my teams were emotional. That's just the way it was. You know, I was never a coach when they always say, yeah, we took care of business as usual. That's just the way we play the game. We just take care of business. We want our kids, you know, playing level-headed. I really never saw it that way, I'll be honest with you, because I always thought when you put your team on the field, you know, they had better be amped up and having a little anxiety in it, because somebody was getting ready to stick a helmet right in their ear hole. And you know what? I wanted our kids prepared for that, and I wanted them to practice like that, and we went on the field. We knew how to keep our composure when we played like that. But President Cunningham, selection committee, It is a distinct honor to stand here today. Congratulations, Monica. I did get to see you play some. You were phenomenal. Victor, what a pleasure. You are a class act. Although you were late for meetings once in a while. And Coach Broward never broke that. You talk about discipline. He still lets you slide on that damn. All the time, Victor. All the time. And but he knew you were going to be in the field. And Joe, unbelievable. 4 home runs and a doubleheader. I'm telling you, that is unbelievable. To hit a ball that size, coming 85, 90 mile an hour, out of the park. But was it 4 consecutive times or just 4? 4 consecutive times. That's not going to happen again. Not for a while. However, I was a little appalled when he could not hit a softball. That was this big. This big. You know, what Joe didn't tell you is that after his second strikeout, there was a kind of short guy down at the end of the bench. He stands up and he goes, "Who in the hell asked this guy to play on the team?" Well, do you know who that was? It was Milburn Barton, his mentor. I was sitting there, I said, "Hey, Milburn, take it easy." You know, it was actually Randy Schmidt who asked me to play. So, you know, but first of all, you know, I have wrapped 31 years into about 3.5 pages here, and I'm going to pretty well stick to script. I am excited to go see the basketball game and see our men and women play today. But I want to recognize my special guest here today, my wife, Lisa, down at the end of the table here. Absolutely a person that sees the bright, something positive in everybody. I can't believe it, but she does. You know, she doesn't think anybody's really a bad person, and just wonderful. But what's even better is she loves to go to sporting events and likes to watch sporting events, so that's good around the house. My father and mother-in-law, Dow and Carolyn Dozier. My brother and sister-in-law, James and Lori Regg. James actually serves as my golf coach now because I never played golf, and he's not very good because I'm not getting any better. And he actually played golf here at Northwestern back in his era, and he almost medaled at one meeting. He asked me to tell this because he wanted to know that he played. And anyway, he missed a 1.5 foot putt on his last hole, but he almost medaled. And but I'll tell you what, that dude can play some golf. He is great. My niece Heather Lohmann, a school teacher. Good for you, Heather. Tracy Williams, my hairdresser. My brother, my partner, and your Ranger football public address announcer, Dr. Terry Lohmann. And my son Derek, who played for Coach Darren Higgins, who coached for me, and Coach Walter, and was a teammate of one of our assistants here, Coach Ben McKay. You know, just like being a wife or a son, you know, it's always easy to be the son of a coach, and it really wasn't easy for him all the time either. But I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you this, we spent a lot of time in the yard, we spent a lot of time playing baseball. Every year, Derek's Christmas present was a dozen brand new baseballs. Yeah, and when he left to go to college, he gave about 4 dozen baseballs to Alva High School, which he had never opened yet, but he continued to get those baseballs. And he could throw the baseball just a little bit. But I'll tell you what, he went on, I'm just going to brag on him just a little bit. I know he don't want me to do this, that's just the kind of cat he is. But I'll tell you this, that dude could play. He went to Emporia, and we're here under All-American honors. And holds their all-time interception record. But good for you, man. Way to go. And there's a lady here sitting at another table. You all don't know her, but I see her once in a while at 5:45 or 5:30 in the morning, trucking down Flynn Street. Very close friend of our family, and her name is Darlene Holtzclaw, and she's sitting back here at that table right back there. Darlene, thanks for coming. And here we go. You know, I'm going to do my best. Right? There's a phrase which reads, if you want to be successful, you need to surround yourself with good people. I've been fortunate through my life to take that a step further because I've been surrounded by great people. You know, beginning with my parents, who taught my brother and me how to invest. Not invest in maybe ways that you think so, but to invest in 3 particular areas. Number 1 was our spiritual life. It didn't matter what happened. Sunday morning, you rolled into church. That's just the way my mom was. All right? Number 2 was our family. Number 3, our education, which was my dad. Don't ever stop. So don't stop. You understand? Don't stop. You can't make a living on this farm. You better keep going. And he was right. But continuing through my career at Northwestern, the same has been true. I worked with great people who didn't do their job simply because it was a job, but rather because they had a passion for their profession. Beginning with Dr. Yvonne Carmichael, who served as our chair, just as Joe told you. She personified what a true professional was inside and outside that classroom, and actually served as a mom for a lot of us as well. And I'll guarantee it, I'll be willing to bet that she's had an impact on well over half the inductees that are in this Hall of Fame today. Coach Lee Brower, who was willing to take a risk on a young man from Alva High School. I actually remember the day that Coach Brower offered me the job. He called me and he said, "Hey Steve, would you like to go with me and work my bird dogs?" True story, Coach Brower. You may not remember this, but I do. I said, "Well, yeah, of course, I'll ride along. I thought, we're going out in the country to run these bird dogs around." No, we went to the Alva Cemetery. Yeah, he did. But we went to the back half of the Alva Cemetery. We weren't running around tombstones and things like that. But we went to the back half, and I watched Coach Brower work his bird dogs, and that's where he offered me an opportunity to become a college coach. And I guarantee you I've never forgotten that. He gave me that opportunity, and I'm very, very thankful for that, Coach. I promise you. And, Coach Brower and Victor spoke about this. He exemplifies the word integrity and patience, and he always did. He had to be patient. I mean, he had Phil Clayball and Steve Dale and me as his assistants. But I will tell you this, Coach Brower trusted us. He knew we loved coaching, and we did, and he let us coach. Dr. Randy Schmidt, he led our athletic department and made sure that we all understood that we really didn't need to worry about making him happy, but we had better keep Dr. Carmichael happy. We had a blast. Not only coaching, but also serving as instructors in the classroom, because that is where we rallied students around our program. Because we touched a lot of lives in there of people who were not student athletes, and that's how you get kids to those games. It always helps. We worked in an environment where everybody had your back. From covering classes to total support of each other's programs. Coach Martin, Coach Battisti, Coach Brower, Coach Franz, Coach Gale, Coach Phillips, we were all in. And that's the way it was. When it came to coaching, whether it was football or track, I was simply a member of a team. Every coach doing their job, preparing for the game, putting our athletes through their off-season workouts. We all had a job to do, and we shared the same vision. As an assistant coach and coordinator, I worked with some fantastic, outstanding assistant coaches. Coach Gale and I coached together for a number of years and really got to spend a lot of time together. Steve was our offensive line coach, and on game days, we were always in the press box together. I did my best to keep him calm and rational. But I often failed. Later on, we had the chance, Steve offered me an opportunity to come help him at Alva High School as a volunteer, and when we coached our sons together, and that was an absolute blast. Those 3 guys had a great career at Alva High. They made us look a lot better, and despite Steve and I, they did have a really great career there. And I really enjoyed that, and thank you, Coach Gale. On the defensive side, I mentioned Coach Clayball, but others include Dr. Chandler Mead. Tatum, that's the best defensive line coach I've ever been around. And we knew how to work together, and we'll get to that later. Keith Baxter, now the athletic director of Southeastern. Mike Workman, Frank Johnson, Clarence Hawley, and a number of graduate assistants who went on to be great coaches. As a head coach, I've always said this, I attribute our success to all of the coaches who served on our staff. Coach Mead, Coach Tim Allen, now the offensive coordinator of Ohio University, and the head coach of the 1999 national championship team here. Darren Higgins, our quarterback coach, now head coach at Emporia State. They went to the quarterfinals this year and led the Rangers to 2 other national championship appearances. Dr. Bo Hannaford, now the Dean of Professional Studies. Thad Gilbert, seated right over here. Fred Slaughter, who's here today, now down in El Reno. Rob Vaughn, Todd Waters, Ron White, and Jason Cecil. Let me tell you something, and I mean this, those dudes were recruiting machines. They were machines. It was unbelievable. They truly understood that to find a player who was a difference maker and get them to come to Northwestern, we had to make 3 phone calls or 3 visits to everybody else's 1. Alva's a fantastic place, but I'll tell you, you got to be coming here to get here. You know, and it's not close to a lot of airports. Okay? In addition, they recruit students and teachers of the game. I say this because I firmly believe this. Coaching is teaching. And in football, you're always applying the academic areas of geometry and physics. It's a game of increasing and decreasing angles, creating leverage and generating power, and understanding how all of those work together. These guys had it. They understood those concepts, the techniques of teaching them, and how to make them relevant to our players. Because when you're trying to make those relevant to about 90 football players, sometimes that can be a challenge. All right? But we had some good ones, and we had some smart young men. The game's a lot more than putting 11 players on the field. It has to do a lot about teaching them how to get in those positions and create that leverage and how to block and tackle. From a personal standpoint, I love watching film. I wasn't a golfer, and I'm not a golfer now. And I was always glad to hear opposing coaches talk about their golf game. Because you knew, I know this. While they were golfing, I was watching film. You know, and psychologically to me, that meant I was better than they were. That is the way that I saw it. Play all the golf you want, do all the fishing, do all the hunting you want, because I'm watching film, and I will watch it year round, and that's just the way it was. I knew nothing better. And bless Derek's heart, he had to live with me. You know, and I'm sorry, but I love that stuff. My goal was to do my best to understand the philosophy of our opponents and to use that to our advantage. As for my track coaching philosophy, a lot simpler. I made dang sure that Don Raleigh, Troy Brown, Sid Niles, Jay Jones, Roy Platt, Stevie Cooks, and Chris Foster always made it to the meet on time. As you know, Don's a 3-time indoor All-American, 1-time outdoor All-American for us, and 7-foot high jumper. Simply unbelievable. God was absolutely phenomenal, man. And, not many of you know this, but he is now the superintendent at Pryor, Oklahoma, and he is absolutely one of the most popular and influential superintendents in our state and supporters of public education. Way to go, Don. Proud of you, man. I got to tell a story about Raleigh, and I'll keep moving along. I don't have much longer to go here. But took Don Raleigh to outdoor nationals. I knew he was going to win it. We were over in Arkansas, had Jay Jones and Chris Foster along with us. We're at outdoor nationals, and we're sitting there. Jay's getting ready to throw the shot put, and Chris Foster's going to run the half mile. And Don goes, "Hey, Coach, I'm going to go warm up because I jump tomorrow." And I said, "Okay, and I know you're not supposed to do this," but he said, "There's a park over here with a basketball goal, and I'm going to go warm up." Which he would do a few reverse dunks, and that's how he would warm up the day before the meet. Well, so I give him the school car. He drives over to the, it was a big white, I don't know what it was, like an LTD, about 13 years old. And he goes over there, and Jay just finished throwing the shot put, and Chris Foster then running the half mile. People are leaving the meet, and here comes Don pulling up in the car. He tells me, "It's unbelievable." I said, "Where have you been?" Well, I got over there, and there's a couple guys playing basketball, and they thought they were pretty good. He was playing basketball. I said, "What? You did what?" I said, "I can't believe it. I said, you got a chance to win it." He said, "I'm just going to tell you this, Coach, I'm feeling good." He said, "I was killing those guys." Well, he did place the next day, I was mad at him. I should have never let him out of sight, because I'll swear to you he should have won it. And we made a lot of trips together, and what a class act, I can tell you that. I can't say enough about the players who played for us during my career. As an assistant, we had some players who were not only good athletes, but very good students as well. I didn't say all of them. I said, a lot of them. And, we had Jay Richard, Victor, Steve Byford, Doug Van Meer, Troy Brown, Tim Taylor, Donnie Osborne, Dr. Hannaford, Jeff Myers, Thad Gilby, Jay Stokely, who's sitting out here, Coach Meany, Troy Hobb, Rafe Watkins, Fred Slaughter, Justin Green. Those guys were phenomenal students. Now, you talk about being able to create an atmosphere and do some things on offense or defense when you had those kind of players. Coach Breyer and all of us were very fortunate to have those young men play for us. And here's the unique thing about all those guys. They weren't excuse makers. They were good athletes who craved coaching. They craved it. They didn't defy it. They didn't ask you why. They craved it. And that, when you have that, you put a pretty good football team on the field. And not surprising, all of these young men went on to successful careers. Jeff Myers, and I said this in my interview, actually had me as his position coach for 9 consecutive years. 4 at Alva High School and 5 as a Ranger. I was his linebacker coach for 9 years. That will leave a mark on you. And I'll tell you, I would not be surprised if Jeff doesn't attend weekly therapy sessions to this day. But I'll tell you what, man, that guy knows football and has gone to a great career at Kingfisher High School. I know Coach Breyer goes up and watches him once in a while. As a head coach, I was fortunate to inherit a great group of seniors in 1994. Although we struggled during that season, the leadership that our seniors exhibited was phenomenal. Jason Bryant, Todd Benway, Andy Walker, Jeff Crawford, to name a few. We didn't shove seniors aside. We needed those guys. They provided a sound foundation for moving forward. That team continued to improve as the season progressed. We got better. We did. Our best game was the last game of that season. And in '95, we were able to build on that foundation with a great recruiting class. Brandon Christensen, Dwight Scott, Sam Joseph, Tyrone McQueen, David Dye, Matt Walter, Jayton Cooper, Gordon Smith, Cliff Warren, Gary Porter, Chad Dunham, Pete Bates, Gordon Smith, I already had him once, Marlon Phillips, T.J. Hamill, Travis Fox, Devin Doris, Willie Spears, Emmett Blythe, Gary Manuel, Ryan Rhodes. Let me tell you all something, those cats could play. They could play. When you walked in the locker room, let me tell you, when you looked in those eyes, somebody was home. And all it was, you didn't have, their motivation was not a problem. Motivation was not a problem. It was, folks, coach, get out of our way because we're ready. We are ready to go. And like I said, we didn't have to worry about taking the field without any anxiety because we created that during the week and we knew how to keep the composure. Fantastic. I love those guys. They loved to practice. They were just as ornery as practice as they were on Saturdays. In closing, I want to express a special thank you to the Alva community and the Ranger Nation. The support you provided to our program was beyond reproach. Doctors Mike Meyer, Jim Keeney, and Brock Schnabel. These gentlemen and their staffs provided a great deal of time and services that went unrecognized. K101 Radio and KALV Radio both treated us with the utmost respect. And in 1996, along with area business owners and our quarterback club, created an enthusiasm around Ranger football that was contagious and electric. I especially want to mention our band, under the direction of Dr. Mike Needham. Those students, they followed us everywhere. It was unbelievable. They followed us everywhere. And actually in '95, we started the tradition of singing and playing with the band, Ride Rangers Ride, at the end of our home football games. I remember going to Dr. Needler's band practice and expressing our appreciation for their enthusiasm. For those of you who know the band kids, it only takes a little bit just to say thanks, and those guys go crazy. Well, they'll forget. I was telling you, it was just, after that, I mean, there would be hordes of them at the game. I mean, they didn't miss. They were there, and those were great, great times. And Dr. Needler, I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing those kids to that game all the time. It truly meant a lot. I started off this speech with the phrase, if you want to be successful, surround yourself with good people. And I agree. There's another phrase which reads, don't ever become a head coach in your hometown. I disagree. I wouldn't have had it any other way. Thank you, Selection Committee. Thank you, Northwestern. Thank you, Alva, And thank you, Ranger Nation. God bless and ride Ranger Grove.
Okay, that's going to wrap up our time. I do need the inductees to move to my right for some photos. I think we're in the end of the third quarter of the women's game, but well worth it. This was awesome. Thank you all for attending, and as Coach said, ride Ranger Grove.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the middle of our floor at center court, if you would turn your attention to the young man there at center court. We have with us a Hall of Fame member from the class of 1998 who for 28 years broadcast Northwestern sports to the rest of Northwest Oklahoma. In the height of his instrumental building of the Ranger Sports Network, they were simulcast on 3 different radio stations. Dean Linder was, for all intents and purposes, the Rangers to everybody who couldn't be in attendance, and it's a great honor to have Judge Linder here to induct each of our Hall of Fame members as they come forward. Let's have a big round of applause for Hall of Famer himself, Dean Linder. Our first 2016 inductee to the Hall of Fame was a fantastic two-sport athlete. He was an outside hitter and blocker for the volleyball team, as well as a long jumper and sprinter for the track team at Northwestern in 1981 to 1984. During her freshman year, the Rangers won several games, something that hadn't been accomplished in the previous 2 years of volleyball. Many of those wins were in large part due to this Hall of Famer. She was a force to be reckoned with on the volleyball court. A volleyball standout, she was honored with the first team NAIA District 9 selection during her first year as a Ranger, mainly due to her extreme vertical and her ability to hit with both her right and left hands, making her very difficult to defend. She was initially recruited to play basketball by Coach Gilbert Martin, but instead opted to become a track and volleyball standout. As a track star, she was successful and was just a quarter of an inch short of making the NAIA National Track Meet as a freshman in long jump. Her best jump at Northwestern, 18 feet, 2.5 inches, and she also ran an 11.58 100-meter dash. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Northwestern Hall of Fame in 2016, Monica Mayer Schmidt. Monica worked an entire career in Alva, Oklahoma as the Woods County Election Board clerk and the Woods County assessor, where she retired in 2015. Her and her husband Bob now reside in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Monica Schmidt. Our next inductee to the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame, in just 2 short years, 1989 and 1990, during Ranger football, as quarterback, this young man helped to rewrite the way Northwestern football was played, setting records that stood for 25 years. He previously held 7 Northwestern records as a quarterback, many of those making the 20-year plus mark. In distance, he held 3 single-game records, including passing attempts at 63, completions at 39, and yards at 4 1/4 in one game. He also held 3 single-season records, completions with 197 yards, 2,604, and touchdown passes at 17. In 1989, he was named to the Oklahoma Intercollegiate Conference Player of the Year for District 9, the NAIA Player of the Week versus East Central, the NAIA Playoff Participant of the Year, and honorable mention, All-American while being the nation's 5th leading passer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hall of Fame, Ranger Victor Williams. Victor and his wife Kelly now reside in Orange, California. They have 3 children, Victor, Renee, and Aaron. Our next inductee to the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame is a man that was a part of a pivotal point of the Northwestern baseball program in the 1980s all the way to the 2000s, not only as a player, but as a coach, holding several Northwestern records. This good-looking guy started his baseball career at Northwestern in 1982 as a first baseman. During his junior year, he had an outstanding batting average. He hit .335, highlighted with 4 home runs. in a row during a doubleheader. The following year, he improved his batting average and hit .340. In 1982, he was awarded the first team All-Oklahoma Intercollegiate Conference as a freshman first baseman. He earned his bachelor's degree in 1984 and his master's degree in 89. After his playing days were over, he became a coach. As a coach, he had an outstanding career. He holds the most wins in a career for any baseball coach at Northwestern with 452 wins. He also has the most wins in a single season of Mark Schmidt, an astonishing 49. Ladies and gentlemen, Ranger and now Hall of Famer Joe Phillips. Joe and his wife Tana, who is also a Northwestern graduate, reside right here in Alva, Oklahoma. They have 3 children, Jake, Pete, and Taryn, all graduates of Northwestern. And our final inductee for the 2016 class of the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame served a career at Northwestern in multiple roles. When he first took over the Rangers as defensive coordinator on the football team, he made an immediate impact on Ranger football. From 1985 to 1991, he held that position as head track coach, where he coached a 2014 Northwestern Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Volleyball. While with the Ranger football team, he is the only Northwestern coach or player to be associated with all 3 Oklahoma Intercollegiate Conference football championships, which is a big testament to his career as a coach. As a defensive coordinator, his defense was one of the top in the country. They averaged 4 turnovers a game, took 27 interceptions that season, and allowed only 17 points a game on average, giving on average only 256 yards per contest. The following 6 seasons as a D coordinator, he earned the first ever #1 ranking by a Northwestern football team on the team that he coached. That same year was an extremely successful one, as it boasted the #1 overall defense in the land for the Rangers, allowing only 80 rushing yards a game, 142 passing yards, and just 15 points. His career at Northwestern went on to include positions as the director of the Northwestern Wellness Center, the dean of students, the academic vice president, and finally, the executive vice president. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Dr. Steve Lohmann. Dr. Lohmann has one son, Derek, who is 26 years old and here in Alva. Dr. Lohmann and his wife, Lisa, both are graduates of Northwestern Oklahoma State University and currently reside in Alva. Both of them have been taught at Northwestern the majority of their careers. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, your 2016 Hall of Fame,